Hey everyone, welcome to week episode 5 of the Mid-Geek Crisis. My name is Joe, the Afroman.
Pedro, Cautious Clay.
Welcome to another week. We talked quite a few things last week. It ran a little long, but that's okay. This week we're going to jump right in. You want to go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to do a little bit of news right off the bat. What I wanted to cover was I'm a big Mass Effect fan. I don't know if folks know this yet. I've probably talked about it twice in 5 episodes, right? Loved it. I'm even one of those rare fans that love the ending, Mass Effect 3, right? So Renegade for life. I've run it as a bad person. And I was also one of the fans that was immensely disappointed at Mass Effect Andromeda. It wasn't compelling. It was hard to look at. It felt like I was taking a step back in time to Mass Effect 1. So, but I still observe N7 Day, right? I still observe it even if the last couple of years it was sort of a sad, let's pour a little beer out to the memories. But there was a tweet from Bethesda on N7 Day. Folks know this, right? It's a celebration day for the team. November 7th is the day that they all celebrate N7. And they sent out a tweet which is sort of celebrating everyone's wearing N7 gear, talking about what they loved about Mass Effect. And at the end, one of the head designers or owners of the company, I don't remember which, is there. He's drinking a mug and it says, "I should go," which was sort of a famous thing that Shepard would say at the end of dialogues. And everyone's sort of interpreting this as perhaps they are working on another Mass Effect game. And this is kind of the first major hint. I'm excited for that idea. I know a lot of folks are already lighting up their torches and sharpening their pitchforks at the very idea that they might release a new game. But putting that aside, right, putting aside that teaser, I'm actually really excited that they released a big old free graphics update and a big old optimization patch to Mass Effect Andromeda. So excited, in fact, I've reinstalled it. I'm going to go back and play it just to see if it stands up, because I'm excited for the opportunity to play this game the way maybe they hope that they can give it to us when they weren't rushed to put it out.
So have they been quietly working on it, kind of trying to fix it without?
I'm going to be 100% honest. Like I after Mass Effect Andromeda, I kind of turned off the Mass Effect Andromeda news, right? I just don't follow it like I did, started following Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, or Fortnite or any of those other news. So it was a surprise to me. Maybe the hardcore fans might have been waiting for it, but they definitely dropped it. They dropped it just out of, hey, you could download the patch today on N7 Day, right? And I was like, what? What, a patch? And so I'm hoping it's going to deliver sort of a new experience, or maybe I'll be more in the mood with it looking a lot better. It won't look as dated or as weird. There was something off with it.
Remember, it was the facial animations. It had a really bad problem with it. The eyes had a very...
They improved that once, and I think this one is now all about optimization. So they're going to improve a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. I'll let you know next week probably, because I downloaded it, so it's going to take an hour and a half, 3.5 days to download. So it's like 40% when I started it this afternoon. But I'm excited for that.
No, that's great. I mean, you and I have talked about Mass Effect, and it was one of those games that it should be everything I want to play. And I was late to the game. When I jumped on it, or when I attempted to jump on it, Mass Effect 2 had already come out. And Mass Effect 2 was a very different game from Mass Effect 1. And
Mass Effect 2 was just smooth.
That's what I've heard, but I've never played it. And the other reason I've never played it is because I am a completionist. I cannot play a part 2 to a game that I've never played part 1. It's the same reason why I've never played any of the Dead Space games.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those genres that just everything about it just sounds awesome. Space and horror, but I'm not a big horror person, but I love space.
Yeah, Dead Space fun.
I really wanted to play it, but I never got to play part 1, and then we got up to Dead Space 3, if I don't remember correctly. But it's just one of those games that it's sitting in the docket, right? It's one of those one day I'll pull it off the shelf and play it. But Mass Effect, again, I tried to play part 1, and part 1 was so clunky.
Got the talent wheel. It's got all the different abilities. Yeah.
If anything, if there's anything that we've learned is that remasters work, and they sell well. And if there's a game that they should really go back and tune or fix or modernize or do whatever they want to call it, remaster, reforge, what are all the fun terms that we call now? Mass Effect 1 should be one of them. They should go back and redo
I mean, Joe, I think you're making the correct prediction here. I think everyone's thinking that there's a new Mass Effect game coming out, and I firmly believe that they're remastering it just to see if the fans will go back and pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
Create new fans, create some more buzz, and then they'll talk about Mass Effect secret project or whatever. So I'm fully expecting
it's a mobile version, right? We're gonna get a mobile version of Mass Effect. It'll all be
Do you not have phones?
That's exactly it. I mean, it's Mass Effect Mobile. You heard it here first.
But it would be amazing, actually. I mean, Mass Effect Mobile would not be, but a remastered first one would be amazing. I'd go back and play that again.
Oh yeah, well, I mean,
I played Paragon all the way through. I played Renegade all the way through. I'd love to go back and play it again. So much fun. So I'm excited for it.
So let's see what else. Another bit of news, I guess. We talked about we always talk about Fortnite here in some way, shape, or form. And there's a very popular streamer out there. He goes by Ninja. The kids call him Ninja. I'm not very familiar with him. I know him by pictures and his cool haircut. But
I've watched a few of his streams. He's a little bit of a goon, but he's he really has a game face. When he's kicking butt in Fortnite, which he kicks butt all the time, he really does look like he looks like a professional streamer, right? Like he is focused on the win, and he like gets excited when it happens and things like that. I understand his popularity.
So you watched a recent stream of him doing Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah, so I've been trying to find out some news on Fallout 76, which is coming out in a couple days. So I was like, well, this stream's going on. It's Ninja, Logic, and Justin Roiland, right, playing Rick and Morty. So I had kind of all three on the screen, and Rick and Morty's on there playing, and it was hard to watch. I mean, it's one of the important things about a stream is that they need personalities that kind of mesh and play off of each other. And, I'm sorry that those three did not that night. Kotaku covers it really well in their own article, but even me watching it, I was just like, this is painful to watch. It's a bad D&D group. One wants to go stealth, one wants to be a murder hobo, and the other one just wants to talk about their background, right? Like it was not they just weren't all there. I mean, there was moments of really awkward silence. Justin kept trying to throw out jokes and it wasn't really working. But that all said, watching them play, you can clearly tell that it looked to me like Logic has played some video games, not a hardcore player, but you can see that Ninja's like a hardcore player and he's there to play. And then Justin was just sort of joking around, stripping naked, doing stupid stuff because that's what they would do, right? They're not going to care about it. But yeah, so it was a weird dynamic. I think it might be fun to watch Ninja with someone else who is interested in playing, right? Because he's really good at video games. If I gotta say, he's really good at them, and it might be fun watching him play, Fallout 76 in a really good server. But in this particular one, it wasn't there.
So Ninja was in the news as well for that. I did read that particular story or bits and pieces of it. But one of the bigger stories that happened right as the weekend started was, and again, this is going to be kind of, it's a mishmash of a story. I know it by hearsay from other friends talking about it.
All right.
I've kind of gone through and trying to pick it up on what's going on. But Ninja was streaming. He was running on Fortnite. He was running around as I think he was a Ravens player. He was playing as one of the NFL skins, because of course,
oh sure,
that had just come out, and he got killed on stream, which is fine. I mean, it's a normal game. By another player called IC5, ICYFIVE. What ended up happening is immediately after that, he accused and reported him to Epic for what's called stream sniping.
So wait, Ninja reported him?
Yeah. So apparently this guy was, quote, stream sniping. He was not. And he profusely...
Wait. For us old men, what is stream?
Okay, so I had to kind of learn how to do this too. So apparently what it takes is, and I don't understand how it could happen, but it's you get on, you're watching someone, a streamer, a famous streamer, and you find a way to get on their server, and you go and find him by watching, basically looking over his shoulder, and you find him and you kill him in game. And
so the old school like Call of Duty, you had to like cover your brother's eyes because he's trying. Oh no, GoldenEye. You're like, don't look at the screen. No.
Right. So think of that, but in the new modern fashion that you're a streamer, and it's a bannable offense. 100% bannable, completely remove, lose everything. All money you've dumped on the account, they dump your account. So this is one of those scenarios where a streamer like Ninja is so powerful and influential in a game like Fortnite that what he says in his clout immediately gives him authority. And this character, I mean, they showed his video up online, and he was also streaming. Like he was also like recording because, of course, he was, and because you can't play video games.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the only person on the planet not streaming.
Right. Like you can't play video games unless other people are watching you play video games, and then that means you're playing video games. It's like working out, going to the gym. You can't work out unless you post a picture of it on Instagram and say,
right.
No one knows
that I'm eating unless
all the work you did at the gym counts for nothing if you don't take a selfie about it. Yeah, so same thing. None of the things you do on Fortnite matter unless you were actually streaming. So this guy was streaming, he was recording, and he shows that he had other people telling him to like emote, you know, do this emote, do this, you know, basically a dance or whatever. And so he killed a bunch of people. He killed like 8. He had already 8 kills before he killed Ninja, and then he killed him. And then he was going to run away from getting attacked, and then, you know, built a hotel real quick.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and then he did a quick emote, and that was like a taunt, like saying, I killed him. That's at least what it was interpreted as. Gotcha. And so they immediately like called him, like, oh, he's stream sniped, whatever, you know, because and the reason he did the emote is because he had like 5 people spectating him because he was in a game where there was a popular player. And so, and again, I'm fishy about how this works, but it turned into a big Twitter war saying like, look, I played this game. I didn't even know he was on there until I killed him. And I didn't even know I killed him until after the fact. And I was being told to emote even before I had shot him.
Right.
I was 8 kills deep. And so I did it, but all of a sudden it was taken as some offense, and I'm going to get banned for this. Like I mean, it got reported. Fortnite, it got thrown up on the. So
what's the process here? What's the fallout? What happens now?
So the final story from a quote from IC5. He goes, "I emoted because there were 6 people watching me, and I lasered you. Basically, I shot him. I didn't stream snipe you." He said. Eventually, Ninja kind of gave a half-assed apology. And was like, you know, like, whatever. But I'm trying to find the quote on his apology.
What kind of evidence do you have for being stream swiped?
Well, like, I mean, that's the thing, right?
Are you like hiding in a corner and there's no way anyone could have spotted you? Or
I guess my biggest problem is Fortnite is so big that what are the odds of you saying, okay, Ninja's playing right now. I'm gonna go and find him. How do I force the game to connect me to his server?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess you could have him on. And you join a game and you might realize you're on the same server, maybe, except you have to see him on the screen, right? You'd have to see him maybe in the waiting room or something like, I don't know.
I mean, you would have, so the amount of instances of Fortnite that are going on a moment's notice, like how do you make yourself connect to Ninja's?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how to do it, but I mean,
I can barely connect with my friends, so I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Yeah. So Ninja half-heartedly apologized.
Well, Ninja called him like an idiot, and you know they went back and forth. And one of his final responses yesterday was, "Epic will never ban people for no reason, even if I say anything. You're assuming that they do is naive. Stop playing the victim. You aren't getting banned. I'm sorry. Stop milking it."
Gotcha.
That he was milking it for publicity, but in reality, he was fearful. He says, "I've dumped a lot of money into this game, and just because I killed a quote web celebrity, all of a sudden I'm getting tons of bad press that I might be doing." But the way he handled this and the way he talked about it in a public light really was frowned upon. And so in the past 24 hours, he's lost a ton of like stream followers and whatnot. I'm sure he'll gain them all back, and just like all of them. But I guess my point of this conversation isn't that he did all this, whatever. It's interesting to me that a person like this is just a game streamer, but I guess these are the advocates for your game.
Yeah.
How much clout and power they end up having over things like this. So if he yelled and said, "I was just stream sniped," Epic is, and that's already a policy thing. Of course, Epic is going to go down and ban the guy. ban the other
Well,
guy.
they might investigate it, right? I mean,
Right. But at the
I don't
same
know.
time,
I don't know enough about Ninja to know if he's got a history of using his clout in that way. I mean, he's interesting, right?
right.
He's had his moments of controversy, and if you're streaming as often as he is, of course you're going to say something stupid
Right.
online, right? Like episode 7, tune in 2 weeks, we're going to say something stupid, right? Like if you're online, you're saying stuff, you're going to say stupid, and we're not even live, and we're probably going to put it up, and it's going to be stupid, right?
Right.
But they're live, and he had his lyrical nonsense that he did, and he had his weird thing about I don't stream with women. This weird statement he made a while back. He's a weird dude, but I mean, like if he's got a history of bullying, right, or being a sore loser, then I would be a little like, hey, why are you such a bully? What's going on?
Right. I definitely wouldn't want to make him the face of my product.
Yeah, but if this is his first time mentioning it, maybe Epic will look into it. And what does Epic care? Like Ninja disappears, there's 15 other Fortnite ones in second place that want to be number 1, right?
Right.
So, what's Fortnite going to lose if Ninja suddenly falls off the map?
It's interesting. He's been one of those streamers that even celebrities stream with. Like I think Drake played with him at one point. And
did you watch that Drake match?
No.
It's because Ninja's so good, and I'm going to throw this out there, right? Ninja's so good that any player can climb up on his back and go to win, right? Like I would be terrible, and I think I would win with Ninja. Like he knows the game. He builds at light speed. He shoots perfectly accurate. He knows the maps. He can carry you through a map. So if I was a celebrity without much skills, I'd want to play with Ninja too. The guy also looks like a video game celebrity, right? He's got the weird Final Fantasy hair. He's got the charm and good looks, the boyish face. Like he's great for TV, not like us.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
I should say, mine should be like not for TV, radio face.
Radio face. Oh man, yeah. I go back and I'll keep saying it. Fortnite is one of those games that influences all, and at this point, and something like this is definitely something that other people will watch.
I think Epic is. There's no company that's had this, so they're feeling it out as they go as well, right? How do you manage this? How do you deal with this? How do you and also like how do you deal with the celebrities, right? I mean, this is another layer on top of it that's weird. Every company has had to deal with this, right? Blizzard had some controversy with some of their esports players who said stupid things, right? Every company that involves itself in this kind of industry has to deal with the celebrities saying stupid stuff,
right?
Or I shouldn't say stupid, behaving objectionably, right? Some of it's stupid, like saying you cheated, and some of it's really like, oh my God, we need to get rid of this person quickly, right?
Agreed. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, again, it shows. I mean, we're two bunch of old men watching this guy, and I feel like it's. I don't understand streaming. It's not to say that I don't want to end up doing it at some point in time on this show, but I don't know if I would. I'm in it for that particular gain. Streaming is like these guys they work a 9-to-5 jobs as streamers, right? Like
you gotta hustle.
They hustled it. They're like, I'm going to be on, for the next 4 hours, 5 hours. Like they put in the time. So more power to them. They
got a banter, right? You can't just. That's my fear of streaming, right? If ever I stream, would I talk the whole time? Would I
don't know.
Could I be entertaining for the entire time I play, or would I just get progressively angrier depending on what game I'm playing?
So I don't know what type of gamer you are, but when I sit down on the couch, I'm focused on my game. I really, it's a way for me to like absorb and go into this, crawl into this,
get into the flow.
This flow. But streamers have to like engage other people, and yet somehow they're still good enough in the game to not look like they're crap on stream. And what's interesting about that is I can't do that. I know I can't do that, at least not well. Maybe it takes practice, but my kid watches people do it when he has watched streamers. And so he'll sit there and play a video game and just jabber the whole time. And I'm like, boy, like, sit down. Like,
be quiet.
Be quiet. Like, relax. Like, enjoy the game. And he's like, oh, I lost. No. Oh. And he makes like all these emotes. And I'm like, chill.
I like how you call it emotes. That's
right.
You've already got a problem in your house. Joe.
I know, right? I did. But yes, that's so. I don't know how to one day we'll talk about that in general. I think we're gonna have a whole episode one day.
Well, I think here's what we should do. I think we should have some sort of stream event. We should stream ourselves playing for a couple weeks and then come back and talk about our learning experience, what we like, what we didn't like. Because we can watch it all we want, and until we try it, we won't fully understand it, right? Like I've watched a couple of streams. I've actually a lot of times when I'm working on my D&D campaign, I'll slap a stream on the air. Now I'm trying to see what the deal is here. I try to figure it out. And I'll slap a stream on, and some of them are entertaining, man. Some of them are
no, absolutely.
Some of them are fun.
But you have to hit that right person to match up with our personality.
Yeah.
And I remember I've sent you videos before, and you've been like, "What is this? I don't watch videos. I don't sit there and watch videos." But the fact that you're trying the stream thing, it means that you're getting that it's all about finding that happy balance.
Yeah, and also sometimes you send me like 15-minute videos with no context, man. I'm not gonna. That's a huge commitment.
I'm all about. Like I love watching videos that like really dig deep into stuff.
I know. Yeah. And I'm like, I ain't got time for this.
I ain't got time for this. So one other thing that happened today, and again, this is Monday, when we filmed this, but big news that hit today, and this isn't in our show notes, and I forgot to mention.
It's 11/12, right?
11/12. Today, out of the blue, the trailer was released for the live-action Pokemon. Detective Pikachu, a Pokemon story, was announced today, which is the Pikachu. If any of y'all don't know this, it is a movie that has been announced about a year and a half ago that Warner Brothers had gotten the rights to make a Pokemon movie, and they wanted to go a live action. And not only did they go live action, is they picked up not an obscure Pokemon reference, but one that isn't as popular as the rest of them. They decided to go with the Detective Pikachu game. And it's a whole detective game. It's a noir game.
Gotcha.
Okay. And again, when I say Pikachu, I don't mean Pikachu as in the one you remember from the cartoon or the game. Just like the game, there are millions of Pikachus out in the world. There happens to be one particular Pikachu that can speak English, just like Meowth from the cartoon could. And he is a detective. And not only is he a detective, in the Japanese, he's got a very gruff voice that when they said that they were going to localize it here in the US, everyone really wanted like that Danny DeVito voice. Yeah, that's the type of voice he has in the game.
Sure, I get it.
Danny DeVito, and he's like that very gruff, very like what's his name from Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Ed
Harris? No.
The and you guys are going to post in the comments or yell at me later. It's so. They I had a couple comments that mentioned about an episode from last week that said, "Oh, it's that Titan." By the way, Titan was the name of the game that Overwatch was before.
Okay, so
anyway, back
to our fans that are younger than us, we're old men. Our brains are.
Yeah, we're.
I mean, Joe's literally drinking. That kills brain cells. Just to let you know, like all of these things.
That's the gruff voice that he was supposed to be. What he is.
Sure.
Instead, they voiced
like Christian Bale, Batman gruff voice.
Right? No, not that fake,
gruff.
Not that fake. More smoker like. More like maybe Bruce Willis.
They didn't know who I was until I put on the mask. Like that guy? What's his name? Yeah, exactly. But they give it to Ryan Reynolds. They gave it to someone snarkier, which was interesting is because when they gave him the role, he was already Deadpool. Yeah, so I watched the trailer, man, and I'm listening to Pikachu, and I can't help but be like,
that's Deadpool.
Is it Deadpool?
Yeah, it's Deadpool. It's hard to not call it Deadpool now. So now we've got Pikachu as Deadpool.
Detective Deadpool? What's going on here?
It's mind-boggling. But to be frank, the trailer was far better than it should have been.
Yeah, far better than it should have been.
Like, it might not be up your bag, but if you've been reading what people have been talking about, they've been like, this by all accounts, that trailer should have been garbage, and everyone seemed to have enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, you're not as invested in the Pokemon world that.
So I watched the cartoon a little bit. There were cartoon movies, right? I think I've seen the movies. I feel like there were movies that were released.
Multiple movies.
Yeah, and I played a couple of the games. I think I played like the first two that were out there, and I just never got into the sort of compulsive collect them all, dig into the mythology of it kind of thing. I enjoyed it. It's interesting. But like one of the things I've always sort of thought about is like, how would this world really exist? Like, how would this world function if you've got like weird magical creatures just rolling around in your gardens? Like, how would this?
And we're gonna get that, man.
We're gonna get a movie.
We're gonna get that. And not only
this is the only reason why I want to watch it as like an anthropologist and be like,
oh God, it's so good.
How would you have a world with like multiple Pikachus charged with electricity and running around? Like, how do you not have like little kids getting fried in the gardens all the time? Like, how do you not have cars?
Well, it's a dangerous world, right? It's an
intensely dangerous world.
Australia to the max in the entire world. Everything out there can kill you.
It's cute spiders. Cute spiders and deadly sharks.
Right. Well, I mean, have you seen some of these Pokemon? I mean, one of them. I mean, I kid you not.
Some
one
of them are literally made of fire.
Yeah, and one of them is like a sentient sword.
Yeah.
He's like a sword. He's a physical sword with an eye. So, like, you've got a sword walking around that's self-being. So, what if you sneak up on it? Does it like stab you? Like,
how? So, like, how does that sword creature breed? How does that sword creature evolve? Like, how are they fairies? Like, how does the whole thing work? And so,
magic.
Like, it's what magic, right?
Magic. It's all magic.
All right, so if it's like a fairy, like Spirited Away world that's merged with ours, then why is it still similar to ours, right? Like, wouldn't our world be very different?
I mean, you're talking about a world that has enough technology that they not only see these creatures, they decide to tame them and then cockfight them.
Yeah, and clone nurses just for the heck of it, like as a joke,
right?
Like weird.
Yeah, and then you have enough technology that you take this living being out of its like world, and then you zap it digitally into like a ball that you carry around on your belt.
Yeah,
and
like
so
kids travel and fight.
So none of that was referenced, although they reference it enough that the trailer starts off with how he wanted to become a Pokemon
trainer, right? Yeah.
So we're gonna see that world, and we saw a little bit at the end of the trailer with Charizard in like an arena of some sort, and everyone cheering. So it looks like there's like a Pokemon battle, like an underground battle of some sort.
I'm excited to see how they approach.
I'm excited to see this because this is going to open up a whole different world. Not only is this based on the world of Pokemon, but if this movie does well enough,
all right, okay,
we will get an actual Pokemon movie, like based off like the games. And so
we've gotten two. It's so mean. We've gotten Pokemon.
No. Not, I'm talking real humans with
talking live action.
Live action. And all I can think about in my head, I was literally driving home thinking about this damn trailer going, man, I can't believe this came out. Like, this exists. In my time, we were seeing like live action Pokemon movie.
Yeah.
And all I could think about was, what if we got a movie based off the first game or whatever, you know, like kid growing up, joining to become the greatest of them all or whatever. And it's this, what we see here with the effects of like Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
With like coins falling.
Well, like coins and like the action and like the very, it looks very, very manga, very anime, like screen animations, the
I like
the blur in the background when he jumped and all of that. Like,
I'm digging your pitch, Joe. Why don't you write up a prospectus and maybe we can go and kickstart it?
That's what I want, and that's what we're gonna get. But this movie has to do gangbusters.
Dude, I mean,
It's gonna happen. Like, first off, you have one of the most popular franchises in the world.
Yeah, everyone's gonna go see this.
This is
always like it could be bad, and they're all gonna line up Friday night, opening night for it.
So we'll turn it around, and we're not gonna talk more than about 2 minutes of this. But another thing that hit today, which is funny, is we got this awesome trailer to a video game movie that's gonna come out that everyone's like, what? This shouldn't be as good as it should be. And then we got a screenshot of the Monster Hunter movie. Did you see this?
No, I did not see that.
So it's.
I thought you were going to talk about Toy Story 4. Did that drop today?
That dropped today too, but the teaser was very minute. It just showed them kind of, you know, what.
Yeah, it was very weird.
We'll talk about that another day because there's something that we need to talk about from that one as well. But this particular was another video game movie that was announced, and what's her name? Mila. Yeah. What's her name? No.
That 70s Show? No.
Jesus, I'm bad with names. Fifth Element.
Sounds like. Oh, okay. All right. I know who you're talking about.
Jovovich.
Mila Jovovich. Yes, that's good. That works.
That's right. That works. Okay. She's in the movie. And of course, every video game movie she's ever been in has been directed by her husband.
Amazingly, yes.
Amazingly. And I think he might be the director of this as well. And I don't know if you know the Monster Hunter games, but they're like knights and wizards and fighting giant dragons kind of thing.
Sure.
So the screenshot for this was them sitting in front of an army Humvee.
So it sounds perfectly cast. I'm just gonna.
I don't understand.
I look here. I'm a producer. I've got more money than sense. I don't know anything about this Monster Hunter bullshit, but I'm looking at this resume and I'm going, oh, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 4, 5, 6, right? I'd be like, well, there's a video game movies that did well, and it's so well that you've had like 10 sequels. So yeah, you're in. Monster Hunter, let's go. You're in. It's perfectly cast. This is the same person, right? I'm not crazy, right? It's the same person. Fifth Element and Resident Evil.
No, Fifth Element did no. Luke Benson did Fifth Element. Resident Evil was oh god. Let's Google this.
I'm looking it up right now. This is embarrassing.
No, it's okay, man. We're old. Director of Resident Evil.
Yeah, so it is Mila Jovovich.
Right.
Yeah, same.
Right, it's her, but who's the director?
I don't know. Jeremy, no, that's based on, I don't know. That's going to require more digging in than I want to bother with. Whatever. I've watched, I won't lie, I've watched every single Resident Evil film, and my enjoyment levels declined with the quality of the films at the exact same rate, right? But I watched them all.
It's Paul W.S. Anderson.
That's it. All right, yes.
Yeah, he's man, they keep giving him movies. I don't understand.
Because he 6 sequels, man. I'd give him movies. Like, how do you keep a franchise going for that long?
There's a studio out there that literally budgets and says, we're going to give you the rights to another sequel, and you are just going to take that money, and then we're going to pay your wife as well.
Yeah.
And make another crappy sequel. Do it.
So they're like bad video game movies, which are their own kind of genre.
I loved the first one.
Second one wasn't bad. The third
one. I sat through the third one. I cringed through the fourth one. And that's it. I didn't watch any more. After that, I was like, I cringed, and there was no more. And you know me, man. I watch bad movies.
Some terrible films. Like I enjoyed all 6 of them, or 5 of them, 6 of them. Yeah, for the exact same reason that I enjoyed Doom, the movie. Like it's just it's bad. It's bad. The plot's terrible, but it still delivers just a little nugget, and they're the zombie films, which also.
Yeah. So he is the director of Monster Hunter, of course.
There he is. Yes, that works. That makes sense.
That makes sense. So now that I looked at it, he is and of course it stars Mila Jovovich. We're never gonna.
I will watch it the second it is on Netflix. You can't stop me. The minute it drops on a free streaming service, I am there to watch it.
The premise, I'll read you the Wikipedia premise of this is: a United Nations military team falls into a portal to an alternate dimension where humans fight off giant monsters.
Wow.
It's a bad, like, pick and choose your own. Like, that's, like, isn't that the easiest, like, thing to write? Like,
they've been reading my dream journal. Portal. It's the best. They've been reading my dream journal right there.
All right. So let's talk about all of this wonderful news for the week, but the big thing that happened today. The one big thing, and there's a reason why I'm drinking.
Having a large glass.
Having a large glass of Jack is a wonderful man. I'll use the term wonderful for the fans.
Sure.
Wonderful man. Stan Lee passed away today at the age of 95.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment it happened, I messaged Pedro and was like, we're talking about it today. And so the majority of the rest of the show will be talking about that, I think.
And for the record, everybody, Joe gets his news so quickly that he texted me Stan Lee died, just that text. And that's when the New York Times notification popped up, like all of these notifications. Because I was like, what's he talking about? Oh, look at all this news popping up.
Man. Yeah, no, I mean...
is it because, like, is it because you follow TMZ? How did you get this news so fast?
God, dude, first off, iPhone.
Right. No, I got one too.
Right. But if you go into the news app on the iPhone and you really like dial in your settings on like what you like and don't like on the news app, depending on all that, you will get like blasted with anything that's like remotely interesting to you.
I think the last time I went in there, I was like, don't give me any sports information.
Right.
So I leave that all off. And then, and so I get all this other cool stuff. It came like 3 minutes after you texted me, and I was like, "Holy crap, this guy's faster than the Times!"
Right, I'm faster than the
Times.
Times.
Verify? Did he call? How did he know?
Man, yeah, no. The TMZ dropped it, and that got blasted to my phone. And TMZ doesn't send me any other. So by all means, TMZ does not blast me for anything else. But TMZ totally sent me a notification for Stanley. So it must have been dialed in.
I get Kardashian updates from Joe. It's terrible. The guy's a gossip monger. I hate it. You guys are crazy.
It's all about.
But anyway, I don't mean to Stanley.
No, man. This is a guy that's been like, what can we not say? He is the first thing anyone thinks about when they think of Marvel, and Marvel is so big right now. It's man, I can't even comprehend how big they are now. There's this monstrosity in a good way of pop culture that everyone knows about the Marvel movies.
Yes,
and I say
whether they like them or not.
Whether they like them or not, everyone watches them. Everyone's a fan of them. They're fans of either one or another of a movie. You know, either they love Thor, they love the Spider-Man movies, they love whatever that they have.
Or they love to hate them. There's haters.
They love to hate them. There are some haters. But Stan Lee, everyone knows him not only for being one of the creators of the Marvel Universe, and I say that loosely again, but we'll talk about that. But he's made a cameo in every Marvel movie.
Sure.
So a news report from early 2017 stated that he had filmed 5 cameos for movies that hadn't been released in early 2017.
I guess because
he knew he was gonna die.
Why not? He's got a cameo, so why not knock out like 12 scenes with them, right? But
right. So he had filmed his like Thor cameo before it had come out, and a couple other ones. So his cameo for the next Avengers movie is already there, and he might.
Is he going to be a Captain Marvel? That'd be awesome. If he's
that we don't know yet. That no one knows if he filmed as Captain Marvel one or not. But if anything, we will probably get that in memory of Stan Lee.
Definitely,
message in Marvel. But that might be his last cameo. I mean, this might be it. But Stan Lee was a complicated man. I mean, first off, I want to praise him for multiple aspects.
Sure.
Not only was he a forerunner when it comes down to comics and the push to pop culture, he brought comics into the light for everybody. He dragged it out of the basement, out of like the kids that were unpopular, and brought it out to pop culture in a way that.
So him and the team he had around him, right? So I think the other folks around him also need to get credit, but they definitely took what was a kind of a cheesy medium, hark, a monster, look out kind of medium, to one where what did the quote say? He put human in superhuman, right? So these characters that Stan Lee and Kirby and Ditko and all the other grandfathers and great grandfathers of that golden era of comics and Silver Age, I think, is where Stan Lee really came into his own.
Silver Age.
Really like delivered human characters, right? So we wouldn't have, arguably we wouldn't have Alan Moore. We wouldn't have Frank Miller and their sort of postmodern look at comic books,
right.
And the way they approached them without Stan Lee. We'd still be looking at weird detective novels or look, monster, look out.
Right. So comics, especially with the DC, if we want to get polarizing with DC and Marvel, to that point, everyone in the origin of DC, minus Batman, was not human. If they were either alien or magical powers or born with it of some sort, but they were not. None of them were the human element. They all were otherworldly in some way. Marvel was popular for the everyman. I was a teenager that got bit by a radioactive spider, and all of a sudden I got these superpowers. With great power comes great responsibility. I'm a rich billionaire that all of a sudden goes through war and it gets humbled, and then now I am, I happen to use all my brains and intellect to become a superhero by creating a suit of armor. A Captain America.
Not at all like Batman.
Not at all like Batman.
We're not talking about Batman, by the way.
Not talking about Batman. But he definitely brought. Spider-Man is one of the big ones, of course, or Hulk, or we can talk about all of the X-Men. I mean,
my favorite ones growing up, Fantastic Four. Here's a family. I mean, Stanley's. I mean, if there's one that I think Stanley should be given credit for at least molding into the Marvel universe, and it's sad that they never gotten their due. Fantastic Four. They're most like an important. They're a really important brick of the Marvel universe.
They really are, and that's a whole conversation we can have one day. But they're what is it? Comics First Family is what they, I guess, they were known for. And they're characters that really, you're right, haven't been given their due. I mean, they've had 2 movies or 3.
Tried multiple times.
Just really didn't. The first one's all right. I mean, I enjoy it for its cheesy campness, but it's not great. It's not up to the new Marvel, the Disney Marvel.
Exactly.
And to be, that really shows how popular these movies are. If you're not a follower to the comic world, the movies really dictate what happens in the comic books now. And because Marvel does not have the rights to the Fantastic Four has literally been put on the back burner, even in the comic world.
I think it's gone. Have they discontinued the comic?
They have a book right now, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to be corrected in some way, shape, or form, but they might not have a book, but they're not there. They're not in the limelight. They're not, every big thing that's going on in the comic universe are characters that have their own movies or are able to have a movie. And so they push those so that they can kind of tie them together. But Fantastic Four, again, it's a big creation of Stan Lee, is not there. That said, one of the big things that Stan Lee did was, of course, promote this. But there's some sides to Stan Lee that really we need to talk about. Not in a negative light, but what needs to be brought is that Stan Lee gets a lot of credit. A lot of credit that while is partially deserving, is not all there. Today, especially on my own Facebook feed and all that, we've got this creator of the Marvel Universe, Stan Lee, the greatest comic creator in the world, this and that. And while it's great to idolize this person, and again, I say this with utmost respect, the man was amazing. The guy was on tour at conventions to his dying day.
If there's one thing he knew is that you got to make sure the fans love you.
Right. And that's what he's great for. But there's a lot of sourness to his history, and it's partially his fault, partially the media, partially the way comic books just kind of played out,
partially the other creators he worked with.
Right. There's a lot of things that we don't know behind the scenes that happened, but creators like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko are footnotes. Steve Ditko's still alive. Jack Kirby is not, but can we assume that Jack Kirby would be just as popular as Stan Lee if he was alive? Would he be in a cameos in the Marvel movies?
It should be, right? I mean, his art is iconic, right? You don't think about Galactus. You don't think about...
I mean, he created the New Gods for DC, but he created so many, so many characters. I mean...
And that comic book look with the jaw and the shoulders and
the dark blacks, the really heavy outlines, the cosmic look. It's all Jack Kirby. And a lot of people don't even know his name. I mean, they do now in a way. Again, Marvel has become such a pop culture reference that everyone is an expert. I don't want to make that as a negative thing.
Which is weird, right? Like, it's weird to even say, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's weird to even say that no one knows Jack Kirby's name, because Stan Lee was one of the first ones to start putting all those writers and illustrators and
that's right,
people on the masthead, right? So you open a comic book, I mean, it says Stan Lee Presents, or it said writer Stan Lee, or it said editor Stan Lee at the top in big bold letters, but it also said artist Jack Kirby, illustrator, blah, 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 colorist, all these inker. Like, what the heck does an inker do?
Right, and this goes back to the DC Marvel days, is when DC was around, you would have the creator's name, and that's it. But other people were responsible behind the story and the art, and unless you knew that, as a matter of fact, if you went back and tried to look up who did certain issues and comics of the 40s and 50s of DC, you have to go back to the archives and look up information from DC themselves. But if you had an issue of that comic, you would
who got paid. You have to figure out. You got to go back.
You have to go back to the paid stuff. Who got paid? But there's no way to look up and say first page and look at the credits. Those weren't there. All you would see, for an example, would be Batman, created by Bob Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Kane, and again, this is a real polarizing thing. But Bob Kane is credited as the creator of Batman. Just like Stan Lee right now is created, you know, anytime that someone says, "Oh, creator," he created the Hulk and he created Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and
And
Captain
the X-Men,
America
all of them, yeah.
and the X-Men, but he didn't. I mean, he did, but he's partially a creator. There were other people involved in that, and that's where some of the negativity comes into play. Same thing with someone like Bob Kane. Bob Kane, contractually through DC, was the forefront. He was the name attached to Batman, but when we look at what Bob Kane created for Batman, is he threw a guy in a red suit, a domino mask, and wings, and said Bat-Man, and said that's Batman. But that's not the creation that we know now. The creation that is the dark suit, the parents getting killed, his origin, the Batmobile, Gotham City, the Joker, all of that were all created by Bill Finger, a completely different person that does not get a single bit of credit. And now you might hear about it. Now you might,
like the comic fans and the comic files.
But in reality, if you look at any new thing, you watch an episode of Batman the Animated Series, you watch a Batman of Batman the Brave and the Bold, any of the cartoons, the Justice League, you'll see Batman created Bob Kane. Up until recently, after lots of litigation, will you see Bob Kane and Bill Finger underneath it. Just recently, certain things will say Bill Finger, but the majority will just say Bob Kane. And for the longest time, Bob Kane's name and signature, there was like Bob Kane Archives and all of this about Batman, but he didn't create any of the mythos. None of it was his idea. And so Stan Lee really pushed that creators should get their names out there, which is funny because when it turned around, you know, here in the modern age now, Stan Lee gets all of the credit for a lot of those creations.
I mean, the man's so like I've always admired him because he seems to me like the consummate promoter.
Right.
So even though like, you know, Stan Lee presents, you know, Jim Starlin writing Captain Marvel, right? He's still at the top. He's still promoting. He says, "Hey, this is my guy, Jim Starlin. We're going to write a bunch of comics. There's amazing comics. Everyone loves them."
Right.
But Stan Lee's also the one in front. He's also the one to grandstand, to wear the shiny coat, to make sure the attention's on him. But at the same time, he'll bring up these writers. I mean, Jim Lee, all these other folks. He'll give them the chance. He'll let them shine. He'll let them do what they do. I've read as much as I could in the last couple hours, and even before when I was reading about Stan Lee, I don't think I've seen much information of him trying to squash someone down.
Right. None of it is negative, and that I want to reemphasize that. None of it was negative. He was
just a better promoter.
He was a better promoter. It almost felt like he saw the fruit hanging there, and he noticed that no one was really reaching for it. And not only did he reach for it, he made sure to yell at the top of his lungs and said, "I've got this fruit. Come to this tree." Like it's the idea that this guy was the ringmaster. He is the P.T. Barnum of comics.
Yeah.
He would show up at conventions and like put his name out there, you know, really bombastic, big language, Excelsior. I mean, he was all about that language. I mean, I'm wearing the shirt. I mean, all these characters are tied to his creation, but you know, when you look at it, you've got characters like, you've got a lot of this art right here, and it's Jack Kirby art. I mean, that's straight up Jack Kirby art right there.
Or like, Kirby-esque.
Kirby-esque art. I mean, again, Steve Ditko right here, Spider-Man. Yeah. I mean, he created Spider-Man. Stan Lee added a lot of the spin to his stories. Like, Steve Ditko really created most of his power set, but things like, should Osborn be Green Goblin? That was probably Kirby. Like a lot of the dynamic of like,
Stan Lee. Was this Kirby?
Stanley. Stanley did a lot of that, but Ditko was the main creator, and so there were years there in the 60s onward that there was falling out with a lot of these creators. There was time where Steve Ditko and Stan Lee worked on a comic but never spoke to each other.
Crazy. Yeah.
I mean, there was that much bad blood because he was noticing. There was articles in magazines later on, you know, that talked about, and Stan Lee didn't throw anyone under the bus, but he really
didn't correct anyone either.
And that rubbed a lot of people in the wrong way, especially the creators of these iconic characters that really deserve to have their name right up there. But to be fair, they weren't there to pull it. Like, I think Stan Lee, it's not that he doesn't deserve the credit. It's just that he doesn't deserve the credit. Like, it's double-edged. He's the one doing all of the work and the hustle, but at the same time, he's not the one that actually created a lot of these guys.
Which is an interesting kind of like, I think it's an overall interesting discussion that creators and promoters all need to have, right? So it's, they're both very important. And if you want to be a creator who's recognized for your creations, you got to be skilled at promoting, or you have to accept the fact that maybe your promoter is going to outshine you. A lot of duos or do that. Like bands break up for that, right? Where everyone's in love with the front man and the front man gets all the credit and no one, and the drummer's like, wait, but I'm doing all the work back here.
I'm doing all the work back here. Yeah. People have to understand that it's a machine. Like Marvel Comics was a machine in the 60s. And while Stan Lee gets all the credit and everyone's like, oh, he's the greatest creator. Yes, he deserves all the love because he was a good man. Like he
did a good job.
He did a good job.
And folks, I don't want to say he got hit with some cyclical hits, and you know, I think twice Marvel was close to bankruptcy, right? Like they were ready to close the doors, ready to sell to DC or whatever they needed to do. They were fire selling, breaking down the furniture to keep the place warm. You know, they had their cycles, and Stan Lee was in there. You know, doing
no, absolutely. A good example here is Stan Lee wasn't around, in Marvel during the 90s, but his name was still there. It was attached to everything. And
can't take his name off. In fact, it wasn't until recently that I was like, wait, so he's not president? Oh, yeah, I guess he's not president. Like, it was like a weird feeling.
Not president anymore. He's still considered I guess he was like a shareholder. He's got like a ceremonial name kind of thing. Like, Stan Lee's still there. But he ran off and did his own thing. And what's sad here, and this gets to something, the sad part is they really abused of his name later on. He tried to start off, doing more comics, Stan Lee Presents kind of thing, and they really threw a lot of bad stuff at him later on. There was Stripperella.
He tried to cash in on his name. Stripperella, I remember that, yeah.
God, that was just horrible stuff. And, I wasn't there. I can't say that Stan Lee didn't actually agree to all of that. I mean, let's be honest here. Stan Lee was kind of a dirty old man.
Aren't we all?
Oh yeah. So I mean, he was definitely a product of the 60s and the Playboy era and all of that kind of stuff. And I can only imagine that starhood that he got, like that like.
Hey, by all counts, he was a good partner to his wife, I thought.
No, he was. No, absolutely. That has nothing to do with it. It's more along the lines of he was devoted to his wife. I mean, a lot of the stories that he wrote in Spider-Man and the love that he did with Mid-Geek and Gwen Stacy and all of that was based on some of the love stories of his wife. But again, that goes to show that a lot of those stories were also Steve Ditko stories, and there have been multiple retellings of that origin of how did you come up with Spider-Man? Oh well, I thought spiders were cool, but that was mostly Steve Ditko, man. But again, no one corrected him. No one came out. No one said, hey, by the way, no one called him out on it. Everyone just kind of
the juice to get him, and plus. Because he was a handsome and charismatic guy who could really run a room, and who's going to correct him, right?
No, nobody.
If he says he's involved.
There's a fantastic book that you should read, and again, it's called Marvel Comics: The Untold Story. I have it on Audible. I've had it for a while.
Oh, really nice.
And it's on hardcover. It's only like $18 on Amazon. You should pick it up. It's by Sean Howe. Seanhowe.
I've read a lot of excerpts from it. I think everyone who's read anything about Stan Lee or the comics industry quotes that book.
So this book is I can't emphasize enough that this book is, the interviews in this book have only been done once, and because of this book, some of these interviews will never be done again.
Right.
But this book is kind of infamous in the comic world, and it told a lot of stories. It was kind of like a breakable book, one of those books that just comes out and like, what is it called, like when someone did an untold story, or one of those scenarios where it just expose, kind of an expose. And this book was that, and it came out in 2013, and it told a lot of stories that were never told.
Aired a lot of dirty laundry.
It aired out a lot of dirty laundry for sure. So again, I would pick it up. Again, it's called Marvel Comics: The Untold Story. You can pick it up on Amazon or Audible. There is an audiobook version of it, and
Audible is Amazon, right? I mean,
yes, they're both on there. But I like Audible because when sometimes I'm driving or whatever, I like to listen to books.
I like Audible as well. Well, I mean, I like listening to books as well.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, again, this guy's great.
But I mean, let's talk for a second, right? So Stan Lee, good dude by all accounts.
Right.
May have taken more credit than he should have, but looking at the nerdscape, looking at the world we live in, looking at everything we've done for the past 30, 40 years, 50 years, right? Marvel has always been there, right? So
Right.
I mean, we bought comic books at the local comic book store. We played arcade games, but Atari 2600. I mean, sometimes I still think about that Spider-Man game. I mean, that. Do you remember this Spider-Man game? 1982. You had to shoot a web up, and you had to save people to collect webs.
So if you don't notice what's playing in the background, I put it on for a purpose. I've got Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter playing in the background here.
I mean, that blew minds, right? Suddenly you can play as you can play as Spider-Man, or you can play as the Incredible Hulk and beat up folks. Everyone lost their. Was it Magneto was one of the villains?
Magneto.
Like that is.
I mean, that's one of the mini games that they released, and the Capcom branched out with Marvel, and it's so popular. I mean, that's one of the things. The Marvel games became a big staple in the fighting game community for sure.
And I think like also like an anchor, right? So like if you got an exclusive on your system for one of these Marvel games, it was a big deal, right? Spider-Man 4 is a big deal now, but that's been going on forever, right? I mean, Sega Master System CD had a Spider-Man game, right? There's just ridiculous influence of Marvel in the video game world that, we still play these games all the time.
Spider-Man's always been one of those games. A good example, like you just said, a PlayStation 4 has got the new Spider-Man game, and it's a system seller. They made it exclusive. Sony owns the rights to the video game, not just like they own the movie rights, but again, owning a piece of Marvel was like printing money for a lot of these companies. But they didn't know that at the time.
They sold off. I mean, Marvel had to sell off the rights to these things to keep the lights on, right?
So lights on. So that's what ended up happening.
Eventually, they brought as many things as they could. They get back, and they wrote contracts in tricky ways to hold on to characters. And things like that.
Right. But that's a reason why the X-Men are the X-Men property and rights are owned by the mutant line.
Right, so like you can't even call something a mutant, and you can't have any mutants, or you're not supposed to have any mutants in the Marvel universe.
In the Disney Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU.
How do you explain Scarlet Witch?
So Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are interesting because they have their loopholes, because those two characters were in Avengers. They were in Avengers, but they were mutants. But then they retconned that at some point in time and said that Scarlet Witch's powers were not mutant based; they were something else. I don't know.
I assume they're like Doctor Strange. She's like a master of mystic arts.
Right. So they were able to rewrite it, and in the movies, the way they got away with it is they were experimented on with one of the stones, which gave them the power. Which is why in Infinity Wars you got that like child of the stones or whatever oh god,
you already forgot the film? What do you Thanos?
Yeah. When he walked up and was like, child, you're one of the stones. You're child of the stones. Like your powers come from like you're trying to use the powers against me, kind of thing. And it's like I am the powers I wield.
Oh, all right. Now I understand that line. I got it.
Yeah, it's her powers and her brother's powers were created from the stones. They were experimented.
Her brother's dead, right?
Her brother's dead. He died on the floating island and on the second Avengers movie. With Age of Ultron.
The forgettable Avengers.
Forgettable. One day we'll talk about ranking all of those movies. Boy.
Ooh. Tune in for our 15-part series of us fighting over what movie was worse. I mean, better. What movie was better?
We all agree that Thor 2 is the best one, right?
Oh. It's still better than Iron Man 3.
Oh. What's funny about that is the wife loves Iron Man 3.
So again, like, I don't want to keep bringing it back, but like, we wouldn't be having these awesome discussions. We wouldn't be wearing the shirts without Stan Lee having promoted.
This is all about it.
Company over and over again. You don't have entertainment nowadays without Marvel, right?
Has R watched any of them yet?
She watched. I'm going to get some angry letters, and Child Protective Service is going to show up. But she watched Thor Ragnarok with me, and she loved it. And it might be my favorite Marvel film of all of the films. It's so good. I could watch it over and over again, and she loved it.
So
she didn't even find it scary, which is interesting. She didn't really find it scary. She just loved it.
So what makes that movie the best one for you?
It does, and it does something different. It's not just delivering the Thor character, which I think the first one tried to do and didn't do a very good job for. Like, it didn't make me really excited for Thor 2. Thor 1 didn't make me excited for Thor 2. But Thor Ragnarok really, like, it took these characters and made them modern and interesting to me. And also, it was a really good science fiction movie. Like, he got teleported through a portal. Like, Thor is the Asgardians are science fiction, right? These things aren't
Right.
They're not superheroes. They're aliens with sophisticated technology, right? Like
They're alien Vikings.
they're alien Vikings. They make no sense.
Made no sense.
They make no sense. But I love how it's tied into the mythology, and I love God, what's that director's name? I've been stalling the whole time, but I can't remember his name. He's hilarious.
Waititi,
yeah.
Waititi.
So it's the action scenes. I mean, this is always my complaint about these Marvel films. Sometimes the action scenes drag on for way too long. I thought Thor Ragnarok had just the perfect pitch. I mean, the action scene started, played it out real well. I didn't get bored by the middle of the fight scenes. That just go on way too long sometimes. It was great. It was great. I don't know. It was the perfect Marvel film for me.
I've talked about this with you before, maybe, but I think what makes that movie so good is music.
Oh, it also has great music, yeah.
The Guardians of the Galaxy movies are my favorite.
Also fantastic, yeah.
I love James Gunn. I loved what he did with the movies. I love that he shaped these movies around a soundtrack.
Yeah.
I mean, he really placed it. You had Star-Lord get pulled away from Earth around the 70s, late 70s. So,
Guardians of the Galaxy are the best Star Wars movies since Return of the Jedi. Yeah, these are fantastic science fiction films.
Right. So the soundtrack really added to that ambiance. Marvel really had a big problem with music. I feel like they don't have a soundtrack. You know how?
Is it because Sony owns all the music? Is that?
I guess I don't know what's going on. You look. An example of this is Batman 1989, Tim Burton.
Okay.
What do you remember about that soundtrack? Do you remember that that Batman theme? That
Danny Elfman. Yeah, that's
Danny Elfman. You had that strong iconic Batman sound, like that that sound was like Batman. No matter what, that became Batman. Superman, John Williams.
Yep.
That theme became iconic. It gave you that sound. It gave you that
Also did Star Wars, which is why the
Star Wars movies give you that sound, that music, that iconic. Marvel movies had a little bit here and there. Like Captain America had his little hum sound that they give him occasionally.
This is an interesting discussion. I've never even considered the.
But there's nothing iconic enough to give you that zing, that sound. That the Marvel, they were fantastic.
To unite it all.
To give you that. Now they're starting to get that music because they're starting to get it because they realize that soundtracks are kind of bland. Like I pop in any of the old soundtrack movies for old movies, for older superhero movies, and they're iconic. But none of the what am I going to pop in the Avengers 1 dun 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 that one sound, that's that one little riff that they've got that gives you
over and over again.
Avengers. But Captain America doesn't really have anything. Iron Man has a little theme here and there, but not really. I mean,
but Thor Ragnarok is killer.
Thor Ragnarok gave you all those 70s songs, but yes, they had to go back and get songs that were already made, but they found a way to kind of make them theirs. And they also had that really techno-y, Mark Mothersbaugh did all of that, famous for Devo. He does lots of music, and he did the entire soundtrack, kind of pieced it together. So good. So I think another one was Black Panther. They embraced their blackness. They embraced the African American. They embraced the American Black culture. The music. They gave that entire soundtrack to oh my God, I'm gonna forget. But they gave him that entire soundtrack.
We're gonna call this episode "I Keep Forgetting." Is that?
I keep forgetting. I mean, it's one of those things where they gave him that entire soundtrack, and I'm gonna later on. I'm gonna go, ha! That's who it was. Yeah. But he did the entire. I'm gonna say he because I know it's one person. They gave him that entire soundtrack, and he pieced together all the artists to run it. Run a full ambiance.
And so, I mean, that's another great one. Again,
fantastic movie.
Black Panther is fantastic. Good science fiction film. It's interesting. I don't know why I didn't like Captain America that much, or Avengers that much, but the ones that are hardcore science fiction, I love. They were fantastic.
Yeah, no,
And,
absolutely.
and I just want to throw out one more thing, right? So like, just
Kendrick
because
Lamar.
there it goes. Nice, you looked it
God,
up, don't you? Now listen. So we're talking about Marvel. We're talking about Stan Lee's influence.
but all of this, we're not random. This is all
No,
together
this is
because
all coming
again, this
together.
is such important like aspect of all of our pop culture life that everyone knows these characters now.
Everyone knows these characters. Everyone's played the video games. Everyone's watched the movies. And here's one that everyone might remember just barely: Marvel superheroes role-playing game. Right. So we do tabletop here as well, even though we don't talk about it as much. This role-playing game came out, I think, in '84, '85, maybe '86. Kind of a decent hit, right? That was kind of the heyday. A little bit of comics. We were all buying comics in '86. We're loving them. Now we can role play our favorite superheroes. Folks might not remember, made by TSR. TSR made Dungeons and Dragons.
Remind
Right?
people,
So,
what was TSR? What was the actual like acronym for it? Do you remember?
tactical. Oh, now you're putting me on the spot now.
I know, but this is before it was purchased by
Tactical.
Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah. This is before it was purchased by Wizards of the Coast. So tactical simulation, something or other. I don't know. TSR, tactical strategic. Oh, I'm embarrassed.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I
You
mean,
looking it up?
it was Gary Gygax, right? I mean,
Gary Gygax, right? I think the guy who did superheroes classics might have been Jeff
Tactical Studies Rules.
Tactical Studies Rules. Yes, that's it. Something like that. Yeah. So because that they were war gamers who just wanted to play a cool war game, and then they made their war game into a role playing game, and then their role playing game people still play today, right? Dungeons and Dragons. But TSR, right? So like Marvel, even back in the '80s, kind of. And I don't know how much Stan Lee was involved in this. I don't know how much he encouraged his business managers to take these big risks, because handing out your property to all these things sometimes fall flat, right? Marvel also had some moments falling flat, but this game is still played today. There's websites devoted.
What's it called? Marvel Superheroes?
Marvel Superheroes, yes. Marvel Superheroes Classic or Advanced Marvel Superheroes.
Oh, there it is. Marvel Superheroes role-playing game.
Yep, role-playing game, TSR.
Yeah, Marvel Superheroes RPG is the acronym that is used.
Yep, and then there was an advanced version,
yes.
which I think is what everyone still plays.
The advanced set, that's right. First edition was 1984.
Yeah, there you go. See, and it's crazy because that first edition I think has like, I'm going to work it from memory here, right? So it's like the Hulk on the cover, Captain America maybe, Spider-Man, and Pulsar. Is it Pulsar?
Yeah, first edition. That's right. The first edition, the advanced set had
a bigger set.
Had a bigger set. It had Captain America, Daredevil, The Thing, Wolverine, Thor, She-Hulk, Mr. Fantastic, Iron Man, the Human Torch, Spider-Man. I think it was Archangel and the Hulk.
All of those have had movies except for She-Hulk. What's going on here? Why haven't we have a movie for She-Hulk yet?
We're finally getting the female aspect in Marvel.
Let's get that. She should be in the Avengers, I think, soon, very soon. If she doesn't appear in Captain Marvel,
I would love a She-Hulk. That's a good conversation.
She-Hulk would be.
She's actually one of my favorite Marvel characters for sure.
You know, I've read her a bunch of times, and I like iterations of her, but there's been so many changes. I feel like every time I read her, she's got a new origin story, so I don't know what's going on.
I have her first appearance.
Oh, there you go.
Her She-Hulk #1. Well, not her first appearance, right? That was in a Hulk issue. Do you remember how she got her powers?
She got a blood donation, right?
From blood transfusion from Bruce Banner over through a car accident.
That's 10 points, 10 comic points.
That's right. She got a blood transfusion from her cousin, who I don't know why he thought that would work. He was like, oh, she needs blood. She's in a car accident. Let me give blood. Your gamma radiated blood. What do you think is going to happen there, genius?
He knew he was going to save his cousin. That's
right. That's what he did.
He sacrificed his body to save that random dude who was driving to the bomb site. And I'd be like, that dude shouldn't be driving to the bomb site, Bruce. All right, you want to go save him? Go for it. That's how you get blown up. So, goodbye, Stan Lee. You have been an icon in my entire life.
I can't believe he's gone. I can't believe.
I
can, right? He was 95 years old. Fantastic. I wish hopefully I lived to 95.
Yeah, we all
not. But at the same time, I'll give you a little tidbit here. He's one of those like people that I always wanted to meet at cons. I never got to meet him. I felt like I kept missing him. He was here at Comic Palooza 2 years ago, and I wasn't here. I didn't make it home in time. Like we didn't move here in time for Comic Palooza, so I didn't get a chance to meet him. I got friends that put up all their pictures today online that were like, "Oh, I got to meet him." I didn't get to. He never came back. I felt like I kept like missing him at every city that I would be close enough to see him at a con. But I told myself, this year I was thinking a few months ago, I was like, man,
I'm going to make it happen.
Stan Lee is going to leave us soon. I wonder if I'm going to get to see him before he leaves, because he has not stopped touring. He said he was going to, and then he decided not to stop. And here we are. He passed away, and I didn't get to meet him, which
that's
bums. It's all right. It's all right. There's one of those things.
I never even considered one of those things, like as a fan, that you'd want to see him. Like I got to see like Adam West way back when at one of the very first New York Comic Cons, and I'll tell that story one day because it's ridiculous. But having met, it's interesting. Like when Adam West, he did die, right? When he died, I was like, oh, but at least I got to meet him, which I never even considered. Stan Lee was never on my meet list, right? But I can see why a lot of fans might be disappointed that they never, because Stan Lee was so great. He was always in front with the fans.
Oh man, he was.
You could actually get like a selfie with him.
You get selfies. Crowd. I mean, he would sit there and like take pictures. If you walked up to him with like costumes, he'd like pose with you. He's like, I've got a particular individual that is very, very ripped, and he dresses up as Spider-Man. He looks fantastic in a Spider-Man outfit, and he took a picture at Comic Palooza in a full Spider-Man costume, and looked great. I mean, there you are, you're dressed up as the character, as Spider-Man, right next to one of his creators,
the one that Stan Lee gets all the credit for.
Gets all the credit for. Yeah, that we hate to bring that around, but that's the truth. He gets full credit for. People forget Steve Ditko, man. So again, don't forget about Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby when you're
Kirby. I mean, if you're forgetting about Kirby and Steve Ditko, you're barely a comic fan. Don't come and talk to us. Right?
Yeah, that's it.
These people are captains of the industry. They should be
captains of the industry, and
get much more credit than they get.
We'll reemphasize that Stan Lee, while
also a captain,
we say that he took a lot of the credit. He also was one of the first to make sure that you open up that cover, you saw the inker, the penciler, the writer, the creator, the editor. All of those names were there because of Stan Lee. So,
Jim Lee wouldn't be famous. Lee Field wouldn't be made fun of as much as he is. Like these. And I love Rob. I shouldn't be mean to him.
I love Rob.
One of those things. Funny. Became famous, and you could follow artists. You can go and get your signatures. I mean, was there even an industry where you go and find artists?
No. It's because of people like Stan Lee. It's because of people like Stan Lee that we had rock stars in the 90s.
We wouldn't even have Comic-Cons. Like, imagine, we wouldn't know who these people are. We wouldn't have San Diego Comic-Con. So thank you, Stan Lee.
Thank you.
For all the gifts you've given us, for all the nerd joy, for all the moments under the covers with the flashlight, reading Captain Marvel. I figured I'd leave it that way. Thank you, Stan Lee.
Oh, God. Thanks, Stan Lee. Yeah, seriously. And I think that's it. That'll wrap us up. I think I don't know what time we're at, but, that wraps us up for this episode of the Mid-Geek Crisis. Again, please follow, I'll have less to drink next episode, I promise. But this episode was definitely one of those. Man, that news hit me. I was at lunch, and I got the notification, and I was like, man, I knew it was going to happen, but today of all days.
We all were waiting for it with bated breath when it finally happened. It's both a relief and also just like pure sadness, but also joy. 95, man.
Man.
Almost as old as World War I, right? That's crazy.
God, bucket of wind. A huge bucket of wind is the best way I could put it.
Way to go, Stan Lee. Thank you so much.
No one should see this as a tragedy in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. The man lived to 95.
And was in every Avengers film.
Every Avengers film. He lived the life of kings. He was in every geek. He will never be forgotten. His name is etched in the walls.
They probably have tattoos, right? It's crazy.
God, yes, absolutely. Guys, follow, like, subscribe, leave comments, tell me how much I slurred, by all means.
Defend Bob Cade if you want to be crazy.
Oh, God. Bring it. You want to bring that DC goodness to this house? Bring it. Because
talk about your favorite Marvel video game.
Yeah, please, by all means, let's talk about it.
Marvel superheroes. Let's talk about that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Memory of Stan Lee. Thanks so much.
Have a good one, guys. Take care, and Excelsior!
Excelsior.